When 28 Years Later was first announced, I was excited, but even more excited and intrigued when they also announced that Cillian Murphy would be reprising his role as Jim from the first movie 28 Days Later, which came out in 2002. So by the time the movie comes out, it would have been nearly 23 years since we've seen this character. The trailer came out today and people think they've seen him, but maybe not in the capacity that you would want. People think this old infected is Jim. As we break down this trailer today, I'm going to tell you why it's probably not, and what they've got planned for Jim is a lot cooler, but perhaps a lot more sinister. Let's get straight into it. Of course, make sure you press the like button and subscribe with the notification bell on if you're new. The first thing we see in this trailer are some pretty normal looking terrace houses. Of course, with how 28 weeks later ended, it was more ominous, suggesting that what was once a contained thing in Britain was now across Europe and presumptively the rest of the world. That's why I think what we're seeing here is likely showing Aaron Taylor-Johnson's character's backstory, who we know is called Jamie, of him at the start 28 years ago, him being a kid that survived, because everything is pretty normal here. They're even watching Teletubbies, bit annoyed, why'd you get them involved? What did Dipsy or Tinky Winky do to deserve this? I think it's safe to presume that this is a flashback scene of Jamie's mum, and likely his friends getting done. We also get the first look of this island that Jamie is staying at, which is Lindisfarne in Northumberland in England in the UK. Lindisfarne is also known as the Holy Island. We see names on graves and one of them is Nick Egan. Am I overthinking that and thinking it could be a Negan reference? Nick Egan? I'll stop. All of this begs the question, why 28 years later? Why not go to months? Well, because the whole theme of this movie is evolval. In the promo poster it says in 28 days it began, which we saw, monkey. In 28 weeks it spread, we also saw that. In 28 years it's evolved. Now you might be thinking, is that an exact reference to the infected evolving, or the world, people in general? Well, actually, what I think is really exciting is they are directly referencing the infected. Now, some might be thinking, how can zombies evolve? They're dead. The thing with 28 days is they're not dead, and they're not actually zombies. Yeah, it's zombies, and you can call it a zombie movie, but technically how zombies have always gone, these people aren't dead, they're infected by the rage virus. And the promo poster shows an infected zombie hand holding a head with the spine still on it. They couldn't do that in the first two movies, but they can do that now. So they've got stronger, they've got angrier, rage is even more rabid. So yeah, when we saw those scientists messing around with monkeys, after 28 years, what gets these people out of this community when they've been doing just fine is the infected have evolved. I think it's really, really exciting. I think the infected in 28 days are by far the scariest.
Hello?
I think how they move, how one is just standing there in the trailer, how fast and strong they are, the fact that what's inside these people has now improved and advanced, making them likely more stronger or even more clever, which I'm about to get onto, is really exciting and interesting.
And eventually he'll tell me how long the infected take to starve to death.
This is where Jim comes into it. More than that infected we saw in the trailer, this is so much more than that. On this house is written, "Behold, Jimmy, he is coming with the clouds." And seconds later, one of the only shots we see in the trailer with clouds is what appears to be an old, bearded, infected shouting in front of the clouds at this pile of rocks. Is this that looked up to Jimmy figure who is coming with the clouds? Is he this looked up to almost cultish leader? And is he an evolved infected? If that's the case, I look at this image here and I'm thinking, what if this is Jim as this evolved infected, screaming out and mourning Selena or Hannah from the first movie? What points to that is there's been nothing that's come out about them being in it. So whatever happens, there's a good chance we just see Jim by himself, the only recurring character.
Like he is this kind of, we meet him at the beginning and he's kind of doesn't know what's happening. He's, you know, completely at a loss to figure out what's going on, and he's so naive and scared and all of that. And then by the end, he's become this sort of killing machine, you know, kind of like the infected and
even if Jim isn't some evolved infected, I think that's likely the case. And remember, with the zombies not being dead, people could be worshipping Jim because he is this sentient infected. When people have said to me, do I think Rick Grimes in The Walking Dead could be immune? When I've made a case for that, again, not saying I believe it, but I like making cases for stuff you should. I've said how they should do that if they do, is say it's because he was in a coma when the apocalypse started. He was somewhat dead already, and so surpassed or mutated the wildfire infection. They could be doing that exact thing with Jim, who was also in a coma. It's very similar to The Walking Dead in how they introduced us to these worlds. Again, the context of wildfire and rage is really different, but they were both in a coma. If Jim is now this sentient, infected, half-zombie guy, that is why they should do it. He could be the first to be immortal from it, which is why people would worship him, because they want to live forever and not be made into a wild animal from the rage. All these people have tried, but Jim is the only lucid, sentient, infected, and judging from this, he could live forever from it. He's got used to it. That and this could be a dream sequence. Adding a more sensible and, I think, more likely answer to people looking up to this Jimmy character is at the end of 28 Days Later, Jim, Selena and Hannah were picked up by a plane and taken to this better place. But what I think they could mean when they say coming with the clouds is Jim is known to be picking people up as he was picked up. People looking up to this character as the saviour, the one to collect and save them, save their families, give them that life in this good place that he clearly could have ended up at. There's big heavy cult vibes in this trailer. We also see the word Jimmy written on people that have been kidnapped by the antagonists. So it is this looked up to figure. Whether he's directly involved and condones it himself, would he be this horrible person having lost Selena or Hannah? We don't know for sure. He could really be anyone. But what I do think is they wouldn't just kill him off like what we've seen here. I mean, they could do it, but it just seems so gimmicky. What that first movie did, what that character did, especially hearing Cillian talk about it, you know, it was so much more about the humanity of people, or lack thereof, when it came to saving those two characters and taking out that whole base. Am I saying Danny Boyle wouldn't do something so cynical? No, but I don't think he would do something so gimmicky. It reminds me of like a recent sequel to a 80s slasher movie where they have the old character come back just to die. I think he's a lot better than that. It's taken this long for a sequel because there's a story to tell, not just to have Cillian turn up and die. So I want to say at least that this is a red herring. I think they knowingly put this in the trailer because it does look like him. And of course there's also the possibility that Jimmy is referencing Jamie. Jim or Jimmy being short for James and Jamie. These people could look up to him as the potential hero, the one responsible for saving people and getting supplies for them. But this movie looks really, really good. A concern people had was they wanted to have that more candid, rough, not too overproduced look that the first two movies had, and I think they're doing it. It's actually a fact that they filmed part of this movie on an iPhone 15 Pro Max, which of course has a really good camera, but it's a movie and they've done it on a phone. So that atmosphere is going to be there. I think a really important part of The Walking Dead was the grainy cameras they used to film it. I remember Bear McCreary, the composer for The Walking Dead, years ago said the reason they did that was to make you feel like you were in the zombie apocalypse, like you just found the camera in The Walking Dead's world and picked it up and started filming. They stopped doing that in season 11. The last episode to ever do that was season 10, episode 16. Since then, they did the bonus episodes of season 10, they did season 11, and now the spin-offs, and it just feels like some crappy DC show. So, you know, it's a big part of it, and they've done this right, and 28 years later, in overlooking what they thought was such a small thing, it became a big thing, and towards the end of the main show, felt a bit soulless at times. So yeah, everything's looking really good, really exciting. But what do you think? Do you think Jim is dead or infected? Or is he fine? Is he a member of this safe place that saved him at the end of the first movie, and he appears in some capacity as a survivor? Is Jim or Jamie this Jimmy? I'm never saying that again. And what do you think of it? Do you think it looks good? Are you excited for it? Not as keen on it? Let me know your thoughts and theories down below. Press the like button if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe with the notification bell if you're new. Check out the video on the top right of your screen that will pop up right about now. Thank you for watching. I'll see you soon.
He's telling me he'll never bake bread, plant crops, raise livestock. He's telling me he's futureless. And eventually he'll tell me how long the infected take to starve to death.
So naive and scared and all of that. And then by the end, he's become this sort of killing machine, you know, kind of like the infected. And